This time next year, I hope that we've paid out the prize pool to a rider. I think the conversation has started and people are genuinely more curious about a belt drive and a gear drive than they were, say, 2 years ago.
We're certainly working on things that we are really excited about.
Do you think that Gamux could be taking the £100,000 prize purse next year?
Yes.
With the launch of the belted purse in 2024, 2025 sees more riders and teams vying to make the fastest bike possible in order to claim the €100,000. The law of potentially greater performance, as well as the purse, have brought new teams into the fold. This year, Atherton Racing, AON, MS and Intense Factory, all who have proven podium level riders, will be running Gates Drive and therefore eligible for the prize.
I come from a strong mountain biking background and I know how important it is to prove your products in the toughest environment. And, the UCI downhill is definitely, the most elite riders are riding, and we feel this is the right place to show that belts and gearboxes are proper for downhill bikes. We've been doing this for over 16 years now. We know that on the commuter side, electric commuter bikes have really taken a strong adoption to belts. They're cleaner, they're quieter, they're environmentally more friendly than a chain system, and they're much more durable. They last almost 4 times longer than a standard chain. But those aspects and those benefits haven't really permeated into the mountain bike side of things. They've really been stuck on a traditional cassette and derailleur. Industry change is difficult, and especially when you can't do the change by yourself. You need partners to make the change happen. Coming from the 29er world, I know that it took a little while to get the momentum going, and then once a sort of a critical mass got reached and enough riders started realizing it, then all of a sudden it started happening very quickly. So I kind of think the same thing is going to happen here. Right now, we're very confident that we've reached our goals. We have more teams signing on that will be competing with belt drives next year.
Gotta hurry now, 'cause we stay in control in the name of love. In the name of love.
I feel like mountain bikes have got to, in recent years, a bit of a plateau. We've not seen any massive strides forward in recent years. I personally feel like this could be the next thing. Like, who knows exactly what's to come, but my guess is from a performance standpoint and understanding from my point of view what is best, I think this could be the next transition, is a move to a gearbox and belt drive system. Anything that's new, there's questions around it, there's risks involved, and the market is heavily dominated and controlled by Shimano, SRAM and the big drivetrain players as it stands right now. So it's not as simple as what's the best performing setup. There's a lot more factors involved. But as a race team owner and a rider trying to win World Cups and a team that's trying to win World Cups, for us, we try and blank out everything else and just focus on what's going to give us the fastest race bike. And if we can start winning races on this thing, and then the rest of the teams kind of follow in the coming years, and I think, yeah, for sure we'll see a huge transition across the board in e-bikes, maybe in trail bikes pretty soon too, and of course downhill bikes, for this technology to be the new normal. Any brand that is truly committed to the highest performing bikes possible at some point will transition to this technology. Working with Intense is insane because that's always been their ethos. Jeff Stieber, the founder CEO, he's always just been leading the way for brands in the industry with innovation and looking for that next step forward. So to work with a brand that is like 100% committed to that is amazing. But not every brand is like that. It's a huge financial commitment to develop new bikes, especially when we have such a competitive race bike as it stands, to eke out those last few percentages that you need now to win World Cups. It's a big risk and it's a huge commitment, but as I say, it's something that we're passionate about, that we believe is going to enhance our performance, and it's going to cost us a lot of money because it's a big project and it's something very new. So yeah, I think there's going to be some stiff competition. There's going to be teams coming through with great bikes with belt drive gearbox systems on, so we won't be the only team with this edge over the rest of the field. But as I say, I'm confident that we're probably one of the favourites to actually put it on the top step.
Not only have I swapped teams as well as the 5 riders that are coming with me, but we've actually swapped a team that hasn't existed before. So some would probably say, and I mean, I even got laughed at about a year ago when I said that I'm thinking about starting my own team. There was a few people laughed at me, and we've done it in quite possibly the toughest environment. So if we get to round 1 and we're racing, I think we've done one of the hardest things possible in the 24-25 off season. So yeah, the racing's going to be very exciting. I think we have one of the most exciting programs, I like to think, since the Honda downhill team, and I want to bring the same sort of excitement, and it's kind of secrecy in a way, but like, you know, give people something to really invest in for our team. Beyond results, there's going to be so much more happening to get people to invest in. So honestly, we're looking at every single avenue, like our stem, the sweep of handlebars, crank length, how pedals are designed. You name it on the bike, we're going to think about it and probably redesign it. I'd say the main factor that drove me to looking at belt drive and the performance that a belt drive could give you over the conventional chain cassette setup was axle weight, really, is the big obvious one, I guess. You have a belt, you have one small cog on the rear axle, you have no mech below that. You can select with a box how many gears you have. You're not bound to the 7-speed cassette or the 10-speed cassette and trying to come up with spacers. Just that whole system just doesn't really work for downhill. And I mean, I felt like I knew that years ago and could never really do anything about it. And with my drive for getting suspension better and better and better over the last year or two, it was an obvious, yeah, what are you doing? You need a belt on there for sure. So yeah, that was really axle weight is the main factor that pushed me towards a belt. I would say our bike at Gamux is probably the one that has had the most research and development into it so far. I would say it's a very comparable situation to the wheel size that we've been through. It started at 26, then it went to 27, then it's 29, now it's mixed wheelbase. And for the drivetrain situation, that has been stagnant and in the water for so long, and bringing out a mech that's just a little bit stiffer, and actually they're getting heavier and heavier as time goes on in order to make them stiffer. It really is just a flawed system for a sport as aggressive as mountain biking, and Gates and Pinion have got together and just eliminated all of that.
Atherton Bike's main objective with the gearbox bike was to push on our innovation of downhill bikes. It's been a long time coming. We've dreamt of building a gearbox bike from day one, and yeah, it's so exciting to see this project come to life at last. So the advantages of belt-driven bikes, obviously they're being used in combination with a gearbox system. So it really allows us to pull the weight central to the bike, and central and low, which are two big drivers that we've always focused on in terms of general design. But the ability to put them ultimately in place of the lead that we were putting on the race bikes in the past. You know, we'd be putting up to 500, 600 grams of lead underneath the bottom bracket. We're gaining weight in the right place and ultimately losing it off the rear wheel. So some clear benefits in terms of the mass on that rear wheel and the effect that has on the suspension. We're in a position where we're funded by the industry, and it's a very challenging place that in a way stifles innovation. There's a lot of teams relying on drivetrain partnerships, and in turn that will always, you know, drive the direction that we take in downhill. We're hoping, and obviously with Gates' support, that that's not going to be us, and we're going to be able to push from the front on this gearbox and belt project. And I imagine when people see the success we have in a faster bike, they'll soon follow suit. I think Atherton Racing has a real good chance of winning the 100k. You know, with a competitive bike and with a great bunch of riders, I'm certain that we'll be knocking on the door, if not taking that first ever win.
The race for the belted purse is on, and this year, with drastically more teams running the belt drive plus fewer teams in the paddock overall, could it be a signal and the watershed moment for a wider spread adoption of this different drivetrain and frame technology?